Welcome, my friends, to Peace, Love, and Bring It Back, the podcast that never ends, where we gather our clan and talk about the peace and love in our lives, the difficulties along the journey, and how we rise up from them. We will experience a little thing I call Kluberty together, and by the end of the show, we're going to find our sweet spot. I'm Uncle Dave, and our transformation starts right here. Hey now, and how are you doing? Want to welcome you to the next episode of Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat. Today, we're definitely going to bring on some royalty. The Prince of Positivity, Spencer Jones. We're going to be jonesing for how to live our life to the max. So how you doing today, Spencer?
Oh my gosh, I am fan-freaking-tastic. I get to be here with you and all the amazing people here. It's truly an honor. You know, royalty or not, it's an honor to be here with you, to be on the path to learn, to grow, to shine our light. So thank you, brother, for having me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. We've connected, and actually, I'll be at one of your events in September. Well, actually, two of your events, right? There's the virtual event at the end of this month, as well as, right, and then there'll be the New York event in Westchester. I don't know if that's upstate New York for us New Yorkers, but it's still pretty close to where I'm at, and I'm looking forward to it.
Nice. Yeah, we're looking forward to having you at both of those events. Our virtual one at the end of April. We do that every year, right around in April sometime. And then our Energy Recharge, our one-day event where we get to vanquish vampires, those energy vampires in our life, and plug into our internal everlasting power source. So it's a fun time, and I'm looking forward to having you, man, and getting to finally meet you in person. It's going to be great. Yeah,
we've known each other. We've spoken a bunch of times virtually, and I can't wait. And we're in the same networks and things like that. Now, well, let's start off. What is a energy vampire? Like if we're going to talk about something, let's explain it.
Right, so let's dive in. So I'm all about energy sovereignty, the energy that you have, right? So I think about it like this. We have this beautiful light inside of us, and it has this energy coming into it, the stuff flowing in, the good things we do, and it has energy flowing out. And so we want to be masters of that energy, that sovereignty, right? So we can have that flow coming in and out. Well, energy vampires are the things, just like vampires suck your blood, energy vampires suck your energy away. And so energy vampires are those people, we mainly associate with people, but it can be things, organizations. And one of the things that a lot of people don't think of or realize, it can be your thoughts. The words that you say to yourself and to others can be energy vampires draining your energy, sometimes without you even knowing it, so that you don't feel as vibrant, you don't feel as alive or focused, you feel drained, exhausted, tired instead, right? Think about a person you might have been around, right? Let's take a person because they're usually easier to identify. Think of a person in your life, maybe it could be a family member, close or not so close relative. It could be a friend, it could be a coworker, sometimes work. You around those people or that thing, and all of a sudden you start to realize after an hour, couple hours a day at work, you're just like, oh my gosh, I have no energy. I just want to go home, sit on the couch and do nothing. I'm just drained. You have nothing left, right? That's an energy vampire. And there's different levels of them, ones that really suck your energy a lot, ones that are just taking little trickles of it. And so my hope and goal in helping people master the energy sovereignty is just to be aware of those energy vampires in their life and then pick and choose what they, vanquish the ones that aren't serving them, and then pick and choose where are they giving their energy to? How is it being spread out to the world? Because we don't want to keep it just to ourselves. We want to share it. But how can we share it intentionally and hopefully not have any energy vampires that are unintentionally taking our energy?
Well, how do you notice it? Because I mean, I know for me, I didn't always understand the energy vampires or whatever was draining me. I wasn't aware of it. How, for somebody who's maybe just starting along this journey, what would be some ideas or some ways to at least identify, what's draining us?
That's a great question, because the awareness is always the first step for anything. And so let's first become aware of these energy vampires. So what does it look like and feel like when you're around one? Well, usually for a lot of people, you start to feel physically exhausted, you start to feel tired, right? It might not be like totally exhausted, but enough where you feel drained. You don't have that same spunk, the same energy that you had before. whenever you're introduced or around that person or thing. But the tricky part is they can be longer term, right? So sometimes like the thoughts we think and those limiting beliefs we have, they can be with us for years. And so it just becomes status quo status, our norm for us. But you can feel exhausted, tired, drained. You don't have a drive for life going forward, goals, dreams, like you struggle having those things. Sure. One of the other things that I notice that are more of an almost an instant indicator is when I get triggered or if I get frustrated or angry, anything like that, where all of a sudden my emotions are quicker to churn, right? I'm not able to manage them as well. Sure. That's usually a sign that my energy's been depleted because I'm not managing it nearly as well as I can or have. So at that point I can stop and go, okay, who was I around? What was going on? What was I thinking or doing? What could be that energy vampire that brought me to this point of being low energy? So if I feel triggered, doesn't always mean that there's an energy vampire, but that can be a sign. If I feel angry, frustrated all of a sudden, something, or I feel on edge, that could be a sign that there's an energy vampire around or I have spent time around one.
Okay, yeah, no, and those are the really important things, is to be aware, is really building that awareness. And so what do you do when you find energy? I mean, I know there's many things that we can do. What's one easy thing that you might, or what's your, let's take a step back. What's your go-to? So just for, and then just for everybody else, that's just what Spencer has, right? So everybody has their go-to. It doesn't mean that I got to do what Spencer does or what Dave does or things like that. It's an acknowledging piece. But for people who might not be aware of it, what would be one tool in their toolbox to vanish?
Right. I always call it here. I have this fun. Our signs of energy, like the lightning bolts. So I have this fun lightning bolt. I call them our stakes for the energy vampires, right? Because you can only kill a vampire with a stake. So we're stabbing them with our stakes of energy. So how can we do that? As you said, everyone has their own go-to. Probably the easiest one to do is to just step away, to literally walk away from that thing, that person, that thought. So if it's a person, stop spending time around them, leave, walk away, whatever, right? Or sometimes you can't necessarily do that with a person. You can't just get up and leave the room or leave the space. So be intentional about how much time you're spending there, how much energy you're giving them. Focus your mind elsewhere, or have a set amount of time. I'll give some examples in a little bit of that. And with your thoughts, it could just be like, okay, I'm having this thought. I'm aware of this. Let's have a new thought. Let's train that to go differently. That's one of the things that we really break down in our energy recharge event, is we share lots of different examples and have you work on building that for yourself personally, so that you have a tool chest of these stakes that you can use when you have these energy vampires come up in your life. But these are just some of the examples. So I'll give an example. There's people in my life, family, close family relations of my parents. Just to be totally open and honest about it, my parents were energy vampires in my life. Now, I haven't spoken to them in 16 years, something like that. And I'm not saying that's the right choice for everyone. But before I even knew that they were energy vampires or had that terminology for it, I knew that I felt drained. I felt unworthy. They were not helping me be a happy, healthy human being and be the best that I can be. So I thought about it. I prayed about it. I meditated on it. And I decided to cut connections with them. And that, honestly, as hard as and as painful it was to do with those decisions, it was one of the best decisions I made, because I now feel alive, focused, energized. I have more joy in my life, and it really allowed me to go forward. So I had to make a hard choice, a difficult choice, to sever connection with parents, right, with family. So maybe that's the thing you have to do with the people in your life who are your energy vampires. Once you are aware of that, can you sever ties? Or is that something you want to do? Where, if it's a friend and you're kind of going separate ways, okay, accept that and work through it, right? I'm saying accept it like it's easy, right? But work through it and be okay, because you'll realize it's easy. Life's going to be happier and more fulfilling afterwards. There's some people in our life that we can't get rid of. I have another family member that I can't just sever ties with, and they're very negative. I love them dearly. They're great. They're amazing, but they're extremely negative. And as a Prince of Positivity, it's really hard to be around that kind of negativity for long. So I'm there, and I try to set limits of how much time I spend with them. So let's say we're in the same house. I'm over at their house, and we're chatting, and it's like everything I say just turns to the negative, right? Or they're so focused on negative. So I try focus on the positives, or restating it, or refocusing, or changing topics, right, to get to the positive. But after certain times, it's just negative, 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 negative. I go, okay. I end the conversation politely. I'm not rude, but I end the conversation politely, and I literally leave the room. Sometimes I'll leave the house, but other times I'll just leave the room and, all right, cool. I finished that conversation, so it's not rude, but I intentionally leave to get out of that energy vampire's.
To remove yourself. I like using a lot of R's. To remove yourself and also to reset yourself is okay. It doesn't have to be. Teaching that is really hard, and even learning that is really hard because we're taught we have to respond. Don't walk away from me. You could say, hey, Spencer, I just need a couple of minutes to reset myself, and that's respect. There's a lot of different ways to do that, and it is powerful, especially when you have to do it with family members or people who are in your family. I know that there's people that I'm around that every now and then I'm like, I only could spend a little time, or how much I could reset myself or prepare myself before those conversations.
Right. And the whole thing of is what you're saying is boundaries, right? You're setting boundaries for yourself of these time limits, or like, well, I need to take a step back, and just being vocal about it and sharing it. You might say, well, they're not going to like it, or they're not going to understand or appreciate it. Well, okay, that's on them. But if you do it for you, right, you're doing it for your energy, your peace. And one thing I notice with a lot of people we work with is they're like, well, but I'm not worthy to do this, or I was raised differently than this. It's not wrong to take care of you. If you're not taking care of you, if your energy's low and empty, you're not going to be able to serve anyone, right? As the saying goes, if your cup is dry, how can you pour into others? Well, you need to take care of you. You need to set those boundaries to take that stand for you, because you are worthy. You are important. You do matter. You are enough. Step into that and own that. And I say it like it's easy, and it took me years to truly believe in myself that I am worthy, that I am enough. But when I did, holy cow, it made those conversations easier to have, and I was able to stand in my light and my strength and go, you know what, I need to take a couple minutes, thank you. I'm just going to step aside for a couple minutes. And then, I'll go outside, go for a walk. I'll do things that intentionally fill my cup back up. I'll journal, I'll meditate, I'll listen to music, I'll go dance around, I'll do whatever that is to fill my cup, or even just leave that conversation and go to another room and just hang out by myself or talk with another person. And that's okay, because you matter too, right? The way we were raised you got to sit and listen and stay all the time. It's not always healthy for us.
Right. No, exactly. And that's the part of the challenge is knowing what your resources are, how you feel, and acknowledge it. I think we talked about it in the green room, but really, we're not going to feel. So even you're the Prince of Positivity. I'm sure there's days that you wake up that you're just like, nope, today's not going to be the day. Doesn't mean that you give up at early in the morning on what it's going to be like, but you're like, I don't feel it, and I might have to be more aware or start using some of my other resources. And then there's times that our resources they just won't be there, right? You can use everything we want, and we're still just not going to get it, because each situation really holds us back, or the beliefs of how do we handle those. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the thoughts and beliefs we have really judge where we're going and what we'll achieve, because we can hold ourselves back with those thoughts. And going back to what you said about energy and our personal energy or feelings or mindset for the day, I'm the Prince of Positivity, but I have off days, right? There's people who are happy and go lucky who struggle, right? Even the people you look up to in your life, whoever that is, they have rough days too. They might not post about it or share about it on social media, but they have rough days too. And so know that for you, it's okay to have rough days, to have days that your energy isn't the same, right? It's not a competition. We don't want to be comparing ourselves to anybody else. Maybe compare ourselves to ourselves so we could see the growth. But if your energy is lower today, or you're frustrated, like it was a couple of days ago that I was just kind of feeling meh. I wasn't upset. I wasn't angry. I was a lot quicker to anger, and I had to just make sure I kept that in check so I didn't like bite people's heads off that didn't deserve it or anything. Sure. But I'm like, oh, okay, I noticed this. What can I do to turn and change this around? And I went to my tool chest and started to work on it a little bit. And it got better throughout the day. Was it great? No. My day wasn't nearly the same energy or positivity that it has been in other days. So I'm not going to beat myself up for that and let my inner bully, as Sean Douglas says, right, that inner critic beat us up. Instead, I go, hey, you know what? That's okay. This is where I'm at today, and that's okay. Let's do the best to raise it up, and I'm just going to be okay with that. And then I'm going to sleep, and hopefully tomorrow will be a better day, and then we can keep going. It's when we stay in there and or we start to sink down lower that then we really need to go like, well, hold on. We don't want this to be a lifestyle, and for a lot of people, it starts to become one. The good news is we can turn that around and change that, so you're not living in that darkness or in that lower energy.
Sure, no, because that's really what it is trying to flip that, and sometimes we just need to find the right people, and I mean, you have an amazing community, the Energy Hub, and bringing people together, and that also gives you that safe space. That's one of the things that I pride myself now even more so. I always thought I provided a safe space, but I've learned that not always. Because we work from our perspective, so we think we know that we're not going to do anything, but not everybody is aware of what it is or how it comes off. But right. Having that safe space now is so important, not only by yourself, but also when you find a community like the Energy Hub where you can shift our energy. So if everybody's not doing it, we pull people along. No person left behind.
Exactly. No one left behind, and you have people who are there to support you. There's a long time in my life where it felt like I was alone. I didn't have people. While I did, it didn't necessarily feel like it. I didn't feel seen, heard, and felt, right? I didn't have that. So what I did is I created a community of people who were there to support me and see me and love me for who I was, truly, authentically, without exception, without qualification. And I saw them the same way, and we were able to provide the safe place for each other, and it just has grown. So we call it the Energy Hub and our Energizer family, right? We're all Energizers, that light inside us that we're sharing with others, that we have this space to be us, to be raw, open, authentic, to say, hey, I'm having an awesome day today. This is fantastic. Let's celebrate together. And other people go like, you know what? I'm struggling today. And yeah, that's okay. So let's pour some love and light into you to help you when you're feeling down and struggling, and then you get to celebrate and pour into us when you're rocking and rolling. And it's this beautiful community that we have that all started because I needed something for myself, and then I saw other people with a need, and we just built it from there.
Yeah, isn't that I guess the magic of the universe, or the magic that happens? Sometimes we do things just to make ourselves feel better, not being selfish, but right. If you truly give to people, like I've been known to just send flowers to people, and they're like, well, why'd you do that? Did you like the flowers? Uh-huh. Okay. Did it have my name on it? Like I wasn't looking for credit, but I knew it was you. Okay, but it wasn't like, I'm not looking for credit. It wasn't looking for anything. And then they're always like, yeah, I know you sent me flowers for some reason. I'm like, no, not really. I mean, I remember.
There's no hidden agenda.
Yeah, there's no hidden agenda. I remember struggling in Seattle. I was feeling low during one trip. And so I went to the market, right? There's the huge market, anybody who's not been in Seattle. And not only is it the fish market, but it also sells these amazing flowers on the other side of...
Amazing. Huge bouquets.
Yeah, so I bought a couple of bouquets, and I walked through the streets just giving it to people. You don't know how hard it was to just say hi and not, walk, not looking for anything. How many people were like, no. I'm like, I was looking for flowers, And the funniest thing is when you talk to people, many people want flowers, but they just don't. They want it in their way, and I think that's part of the challenge. Is realizing receive it any way you can. And how do you receive things like that? Unexpected positivity, or how can somebody? Because we also have to be careful about toxic positivity. No, you have to be positive no matter what. That's not true. We were just talking about how you need to acknowledge when you're not feeling okay. But how do you receive gifts? In generality.
I struggled for a long time to receive gifts because part of it was me thinking and wondering, was there a hidden agenda? What's the purpose behind this gift? What do they want from me? And then the other part was, well, why me? I don't deserve this. And not necessarily in a humbling way, in more self-belittling way where I'm beating myself up over it. And so I've worked hard of just even receiving compliments, right? It's a lot of people, myself included, for a lot of years, struggle to receive compliments without feeling awkward about it. Like, what do you say when someone, this awesome job doing this? Do you say, thank you? Oh, thanks so much. Or what's the response? And I used to just get shy and hold myself back about it because that whole system of how do I accept these gifts come in. And I've had to learn, now I say, thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. It means a lot. And then, I return the favor if it's fitting, or you take it and accept it in without feeling awkward about it. And that it took me to be intentional about that, to really change that.
It's hard.
So when I receive, it is. So when I receive gifts, I appreciate it with an open heart, and I go, hey, thank you. I respond back and say, thank you very much, or whatever's fitting, so that they know I received it, I appreciate it, and I appreciate the thought and intention. And I allow that love, that energy just to flow in without questioning it, without worrying about it, with what's the hidden agenda or intention. Maybe there is, maybe there's not, but whatever. Okay, there's these cool, I got these cool flowers. Oh my gosh, how cool. Thank you so much for thinking of me. That means so much that you thought of me. I truly appreciate that. And then hopefully, I could, give back. It's not about repaying the debt or anything, but hopefully I can pay it forward, whether it's with you or with another person. We just keep sharing that love and positivity to other people.
Well, that's the really big idea, and that's what I love to do. Is and that's what I say to people. I'm not saying you owe me. This isn't, because that's where I talk about unconditional love. I'm giving you a gift not because I want you to, or I tell you, hey, I love you, Spencer, and just so you can hear it back. It's one of those things that I'm giving it to you. How you want to receive it or how you choose to receive it, that's sort of on you. And, you want to pay it forward to somebody else. Say, look, I got these flowers, re-gift it. Do whatever you need to do if that's a thing for you. Because really when you do have that's somebody who opens the door, you're that much happier. It's nice when somebody does something, a gesture you might not expect, and that's what we need to make sure. One of those, I guess one of those stakes is to acknowledge what somebody does. Doesn't mean that person, you have to repay that person, or there's a debt to be paid for that person, but just pay it forward to somebody else.
Right. Just you receive some love, some energy, some light. Beautiful. Now that fills your cup. And so then at some point in your life, you can repay that not repay it. You can give that light and love to others. And that's beautiful. And as you're talking, I'm thinking about this because I haven't honestly thought about how we receive gifts before in this matter. I'm going, I wonder if part of the reason I struggle with it was because of my own personal belief about me, the way I viewed and loved myself. How we receive gifts is totally on us, not on what the other person does. Yes, maybe the other person could, like our spouse or significant other or kids, if you know their love language, right? You can be intentional about giving them speaking to them in the love language, right? Of however they receive that love. Cool. But it's still on them with how they receive it. You could be intentional about how you do that to support that. But in the end, it's whoever's receiving that gift. It's how they choose to take it, to see it, to feel it, whatever. And I'm looking back at my life. Maybe that's all because of the self-perception I had about me, the belief, the love I had in me, because for so many years I hated who I was. I didn't know who I was. And when I did, or I finally realized that I hated myself. And so once I started to work through that and started to like myself for who I was and love me for me and stand tall and firm in who I am, Spencer Jones, the Prince of Positivity, that I'm able to embrace those gifts so much easier now because I love me for me and not trying to be selfish or egotistical about it, but I'm like, okay, I know who I am and I love me and I appreciate these gifts coming in. I think before it was like, well, who am I? I'm not worthy. What do you see in me? And all because I didn't know who I was. So once I got to know me, I think it made it easier to accept gifts. Just a thought I had now. I could totally be wrong. I don't know, but it's just something.
Right. That's what works for you, and I'm sure it worked because I know as you were talking, that's really powerful stuff because most people don't realize they don't like themselves, right?
Right.
I know right after I tried to kill myself, the first time I was ever asked, "Do you love yourself?" Nobody ever asked me that, and I never really thought about it. I didn't not love myself. I didn't go, oh, I hate myself or things like that. I didn't think I was worthy. There was a lot of limiting beliefs that I had. But the first time I asked that, and I paused for a very long time, which knew I had to then work on something. But also then I start crying because why didn't I love myself? What were the things that I put up there? What were the energy vampires in my life that either happened through traumas, through lots of reasons, or I knew everything better than anybody else? And it's really powerful. Once you can flip that switch and live differently, that's the real powerful.
It's so incredibly powerful. It's same thing here when I was at my lowest of low, ready to commit suicide, that I realized I hated myself, and I knew the reasons. I knew a lot of the reasons why, but I didn't necessarily understand all the root causes for them. That came through therapy and meditation and reflection and a lot of work to understand the root causes so I can heal that garden, pull the weeds and replace them with flowers. That then I was able to grow and love myself. But when I was asked that question, and if I was asked it before, I could have answered, yeah, of course I love myself. But it would have been my ego talking. I let my ego lead my life for 30 plus years. I would have let my ego, and my ego was, of course you love yourself. You're freaking awesome. You're Spencer Jones, right? And at the point, it was all ego talking because I didn't know myself. I didn't love myself or me. It was just ego. And then even after my lowest of lows, when I realized I hated who I was, and I was working on myself for a good chunk of time already. I was at a men's retreat, and someone asked that question. They were telling a story about going upstairs and looking in the bathroom mirror, looking yourself in the eye and saying, asking yourself, or just saying the words, "I love you" to yourself in the mirror. And I kind of was like, okay, I think I could do that now, right? I've been working on myself. I haven't done that ever, and I'm not let the ego talk through it. So I went upstairs after that evening and looked myself in the mirror, and I couldn't say it. Even then, after working on myself so long, I couldn't say it. Now, I've obviously done a lot of work and a lot of healing that within later that retreat, within a couple days, I was able to, right? Mm-hmm. Truly authentically. It wasn't strong, but I was able to. And holy cow, how powerful that is when you can truly look in the mirror and work through those, let go of those inner demons, those energy vampires, those limiting thoughts and beliefs, and just even get that glimpse of, hey, I love you. Love you for you. You don't have to do anything, change anything, or prove anything. I love you. And it's so incredible.
It is. And I would have been like, yeah, sure. Until you experience it. And that's why it really is, one of those things that you just got to keep working on yourself. And not that you're not perfect as it is. And perfection is a conversation that we can have differently, because I don't think there is something called perfect. But really to work on yourself, and that doesn't mean that every day you have to love yourself. But you need to remember that's where it all comes. Because it all comes in starting from our hearts, and then expands anywhere else. Because if you don't love yourself, it is that ego. I was kid ego. I talk about it all the time. I was all ego, not realizing it, and now even with the podcast, with all the things that I do, I take extra energy to make sure. Is this feeding my ego? And there is still okay to feed your ego a little bit, but you'll also have to make sure it's not all ego. Because if it's all ego, that, at least for me, has never set me down the right path.
It never has for me either. I've had some cool experiences, cool things that happened because of that, but it ended up in the long run hurting the people I love and care about and not allowing me to shine my light and not have the impact that I want to have in my life. So once I stopped letting the ego guide me, my impact has grown, and my light shines brighter, and it's more my true authentic light, if that makes sense.
100%. At least I understand it, and I'm sure a lot of the audience understands it as well. It's because being your most authentic self is really what it's all about. That's why I loved earlier when you said about the gardens and things like that. I always, as we start to wrap up, I always ask for any seeds you want us to plant, and that'll probably grow. You never know which seeds will grow and which won't, but it's always the opportunity to plant some seeds for our audience and for ourselves, how to move forward and manage our energy.
Well, hopefully we were able to drop some seeds throughout this to help people with energy vampires and looking and viewing themselves and working on this journey of this human experience we get to have. A couple seeds that I'll leave you with are ones that I'd like to share with any podcast I'm on my own shows or on stages, whatever. It's this. And I say this because I needed it, and I know a lot of people need to hear this, and it benefits them as well. And that's this. Remember that you are amazing, that you are worthy, that you are enough just the way you are. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to change anything. You don't need to prove anything to anyone, because you are enough, beautiful, worthy, amazing, just the way you are.
Boom. That's awesome. And we just have to keep reminding that, keep planting that seed, no matter how many times you need to plant it and fertilize it, water it, and do everything you need to do to remember that there's something amazing within you. That's why when I talk about the phoenix rise, the phoenix doesn't ever die. It's the magic spark of the universe. So just make sure you always feed the spark, the seed within you. That's awesome.
100%, right? That it takes that watering, the fertilization, and tending to help things grow. And so how do you do that? Just little things each day. You don't have to. It's not have to be hours and hours every day. It just be little moments, the thoughts you're thinking, the affirmations, the taking just that little time to water can really produce amazing results.
100%, and trust the process. So if you're not feeling it today, just know that the process always will be. It's wash, rinse, and repeat. Really. Right. So just keep working through the process. If you're not feeling well today, seek some help. Go to your resources, and then just know it'll get better. Don't let it keep going down to the downward spiral. Always start clawing yourself back up.
Right, and remember, you're not alone. Right, you're never alone. You might feel alone, but know that you're not. You have Uncle Dave, and now you have me and our Energizer family. If you're interested, we got your back, and we're here to support you. Just because it can be hard, it can be a struggle at times, but remember, you are never alone.
How can they get in touch with you? That's a great question.
Well, thank you. You can find me on social media. Just look up @Jones4, or if you search Spencer Jones on Facebook, you can see us. If you want to join the Energy Hub community, just look up the Energy Hub. Honestly, the easiest way, if you don't want to look up all those things on socials, you can just go to our website, which is spencermjones.com. And then you'll get all the links and all the good stuff to the cool things we do, the Energy Hub, and how you can connect with me.
Okay, and of course we're going to put it in the show notes anyway, as well. But just wanted to hear it from you. Well, Spencer, thank you so much for your time, and it definitely gave us some things to think about, as well as some great tools, some great stakes that we could put in the ground and knock out our vampires, our energy vampires. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, thank you. This was an honor and pleasure, and I hopefully we're able to help your listeners and family to shine their light. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
All right. And for everybody else, as always, we just want to wish you some peace and love in your day, and make sure that you make those conscious efforts to do that. And when you're swinging a bat, make sure you hit your sweet spot, know your boundaries, and just knock it out of the park. Thank you. I'm really glad that you're enjoying our show. Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat is brought to you by Launchpad 516 Studios. Executive produced by David Chemetsky and George Andriopoulos. Music selections by James Grant, Zach Nelson, and James Gaither, and licensed through Storyblocks. Sound effects and sponsorship music licensed through Epidemic Sound. Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat is hosted with Podbean. Subscribe to our show wherever podcasts are available. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and share with all of your friends. Follow us on Facebook at Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat. Follow me, Uncle Dave Chemetsky, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Clubhouse. You can find all those links and more info at davidchemetsky.com. For show ideas, feedback, guest inquiries, or just to chat, reach out to me at peacelovebringabat@gmail.com. For sponsorship and media inquiries, reach out to peacelovebringabat@lp516.com. Make sure to follow all the great podcasts produced by Launchpad 516 Studios. Today's journey has come to a close, my friends. I hope the seeds of peace and love continue to grow for each one of you. Remember that peace and love surround you and will assist you to rise again. But don't forget to bring it back for what you believe in. Namaste.